Harry Potter Aftermath. Which villains got justice, which escaped, and how the next generation grew up. Alright, so the dust has settled, hasn't it? The Battle of Hogwarts is over. The castle walls have stopped their smoky weeping, and the bodies have been laid to rest. There was cheering, sure, a massive outpouring of relief and triumph. But here's the uncomfortable truth that maybe we don't talk about enough. When that dust finally cleared, some of the most dangerous, most culpable people in the wizarding world just walked away. Just like that. It's a bitter pill, isn't it? Today, we're not just celebrating the heroes. We're taking a hard look at who actually paid the price for their actions, who managed to slip through the cracks of wizarding justice, and how their kids, yes, even the Malfoys, believe it or not, had to grow up in the messy, complicated world their parents left behind. Are you ready to really dig into this? To see if justice was truly, unequivocally served, or if it was, as most things in life, a little bit more complicated? Let's kick things off with the big ones, the villains who absolutely, unequivocally got their just desserts. And honestly, where else could we possibly start but with Lord Voldemort himself? No grand trial, no dramatic last-minute speech, no chance for him to slither his way out of it. He just died, right there in the Great Hall, his own killing curse rebounding, shattering him into nothingness. It was a mundane, almost anticlimactic end for someone who so desperately feared death and went to such extreme lengths to achieve immortality. His body hit the floor, feeble and shrunken, his face devoid of the terror or triumph he usually displayed. And his soul? Well, that's where it gets truly grim. Voldemort had ripped his soul into so many pieces to create his Horcruxes that what was left was too damaged, too fractured to even pass on, let alone become a ghost. Imagine an eternity trapped in a stunted, infant-like form, unable to find peace, forever suffering for his atrocities. That's a fate arguably worse than death for someone who craved power and existence above all else. Then there's Bellatrix Lestrange, a name that still sends shivers down your spine, right? The sadistic Death Eater, responsible for torturing the Longbottoms into insanity and unforgivably killing Sirius Black. She met her end in a duel that still makes fans cheer, a moment of pure, unadulterated maternal rage. Who delivered the final blow? None other than Molly Weasley. Bellatrix had just aimed a killing curse at Ginny, and that was it. That was the line. Molly, an ordinary witch, but a mother lion through and through, unleashed a powerful, unnamed curse that struck Bellatrix squarely over the heart, killing her instantly. It was a brutal, fitting end, contrasting Bellatrix's obsessive, twisted loyalty to Voldemort with Molly's fierce, protective love for her family. It showed that love, even in its most furious form, could conquer even the darkest magic. And let's not forget Peter Pettigrew. Oh, Wormtail, the rat who betrayed Harry's parents, condemned Sirius Black, and served Voldemort with pathetic devotion. His end was perhaps the most poetically brutal of all. He wasn't struck down by a hero's wand. He was strangled by the very silver hand Voldemort had gifted him. Remember, Harry had spared Pettigrew's life years earlier, creating a life debt. In a moment of hesitation at Malfoy Manor, when Harry reminded him of that debt, Pettigrew faltered, briefly considering saving Harry. That flicker of disloyalty, that momentary defiance of Voldemort, triggered a curse embedded in the silver hand, and it turned on its master, choking him to death. It was a cruel, ironic, and utterly final punishment for a lifetime of cowardice and betrayal. Beyond the big three, many other captured Death Eaters, like Walden McNair, the executioner of Buckbeak, if you recall, faced life sentences. But here's the crucial difference. It wasn't the old Azkaban, haunted by soul-sucking dementors. After the war, the new Minister for Magic, Kingsley Shacklebolt, made it a priority to banish those terrifying creatures. Azkaban was reformed, now guarded by human aurors who, actually kept watch and weren't feeding on the prisoners' despair. For once, the system worked, or at least it was trying its absolute best to. Now, let's flip that coin over, and this is where things get a little infuriating, isn't it? Because for every villain who faced a definitive end or a lifetime behind bars, there were others who, somehow, just walked away. And at the top of that list, sparking endless debates among fans, is Lucius Malfoy. Seriously, how did this guy do it? Lucius Malfoy, Death Eater, school governor, a man who endangered Hogwarts students with Tom Riddle's diary, abused his house elf Dobby, and stood by Voldemort's side for years. Yet, after the final battle, he claimed he was under the Imperius curse, a classic Death Eater excuse. Handed over a few names, and somehow walked free. No cell, no hefty fine, just a slap on the wrist, and a return to polite society. Can you believe it? Fans still rage about this, and frankly, they have every right to. Think about it. This wasn't some minor accomplice. Lucius was a prominent figure in Voldemort's inner circle, a symbol of pure-blood supremacy and corruption within the Ministry itself. He used his wealth and influence to further the Dark Lord's agenda, and he actively participated in attacks, even leading the disastrous mission to retrieve the prophecy from the Department of Mysteries. He was briefly imprisoned in Azkaban after that failure, but was released by Voldemort. And yet, after the final war, when so many paid dearly, Lucius and his family were pardoned. Why? Well, part of it was likely Narcissa Malfoy's quick thinking in the Forbidden Forest, line of Voldemort about Harry being dead, which ultimately aided Harry's victory. Harry himself might have even vouched for them, but it still feels like a glaring injustice, doesn't it? It highlights the messy, political nature of wartime justice, where influence and last-minute allegiances could seemingly outweigh years of documented cruelty. The wizarding world, even after its darkest hour, wasn't immune to the complexities and compromises of real-world legal systems. It leaves you wondering, was it true justice, or just another example of the powerful protecting their own? And Lucius wasn't the only one. While the books don't give us a detailed roundup of every single Death Eater, it's pretty safe to assume that a handful of lesser-known ones probably disapparated into the night, laid low in continental Europe, or managed to blend back into society before the Ministry could catch up. The chaos of war, especially one that tore through the very fabric of society, makes a clean sweep incredibly difficult. Imagine trying to identify and prosecute every single person who wore a mask, especially when many claim to be under duress or the Imperius curse. The sheer scale of the conflict meant that some simply slipped through the cracks, disappearing into the shadows, perhaps forever looking over their shoulders, but ultimately free. The takeaway? War trials in the wizarding world, much like in our own, were messy, political, and sometimes, let's be honest, just a little lazy. If you're already clenching your fists about Lucius, or if you've got strong opinions on who should have paid the price, then you're in the right place. Smash that subscribe button so we can keep unpacking these uncomfortable truths and complex moral quandaries together. Your thoughts are a huge part of this conversation. Fast forward 19 years, and the world is a different place, yet still deeply marked by the war. We see the next generation, kids who only know the stories, not the terror. Harry's 3 children, James Sirius, Albus Severus, and Lily Luna, board the Hogwarts Express, not under the shadow of war, but under the watchful, loving eyes of parents who literally saved the world. James Sirius, the eldest, struts with a confident, mischievous air, very much like his namesakes. A true Gryffindor, inheriting that same easy confidence and a knack for winding up his younger brother. Albus Severus, the middle child, carries a different weight. He worries, feels the burden of his famous name, and grapples with the immense expectations placed upon him, a struggle that often mirrors Harry's own reluctant heroism. and little Lily Luna cheers them on, bright and full of life, embodying the hope of a new era. They're walking the same hallowed halls of Hogwarts, but the whispers are lighter now. The house tables feel less like battle lines and more like places of camaraderie, even friendly rivalry. The scars on the castle walls have been magically repaired, but the emotional scars on the adults, the echoes of sacrifice, linger, shaping the world their children inherit. And what about Ron and Hermione's kids? Rose and Hugo. Rose, bright and studious like her mom, grows up hearing bedtime stories not just about dragons and daring escapes, but about how her mom, Hermione, helped rewrite the laws that once oppressed Muggle-borns and house elves. Hermione, true to form, didn't just settle for peace. She actively shaped it, becoming Minister for Magic and championing fairness, equality, and transparency. Her children, therefore, inherit a society that, at least on paper, values equality and justice in a way the old wizarding world never truly did. They enter Hogwarts with a sense of belonging and opportunity that their parents could only dream of during their own school years. They're growing up in a world where Muggle-born isn't a slur, but simply a descriptor. This new generation, born into peace, benefits from the immense sacrifices made by their parents. They're not fighting Dark Lords. They're navigating friendships, schoolwork, and the usual teenage angst. They have the luxury of choice, of pursuing their passions without the constant threat of war looming over their heads. It's a profound shift, a testament to the power of courage and love, and a hopeful vision for the future of the wizarding world. But then there's the other side of the coin, the kids who inherited a name that was, for a long time, synonymous with darkness, prejudice, and villainy, the Malfoys. Specifically, Scorpius Malfoy. His dad, Draco, after enduring the horrors of the war and witnessing firsthand the brutal reality of Voldemort's regime, underwent a significant, albeit quiet, transformation. He married Astoria Greengrass, a Slytherin girl who, crucially, never bought into the pure-blood supremacy hype that had poisoned Draco's own upbringing. Astoria was a kind, tolerant witch who helped Draco shed the toxic ideology he'd been raised with. Together, they made a conscious, deliberate choice to raise Scorpius differently. They taught him respect for Muggles and Muggle-borns, instilling values of tolerance and kindness that were utterly alien to the Malfoy family tradition. Can you imagine the family dinners at Malfoy Manor? Silver hair, gleaming silver cutlery, and a whole lot of icy silence. Grandpa Lucius, still clinging to his outdated, bigoted beliefs, must have been absolutely mental, seething in quiet fury as his grandson expressed views that directly contradicted everything the Malfoy name once stood for. It's a powerful image, the generational clash playing out over crystal goblets and roast pheasant, a silent battle for the soul of a family. Scorpius walks into Hogwarts expecting sneers, expecting to be judged by his father's past, by the infamous Malfoy name. But instead, he finds Albus Potter staring back. Two boys branded by their father's war, one the son of the hero, the other the son of a reformed villain. Their friendship, forged on the Hogwarts Express, is a radical act of hope. It's a quiet, powerful testament that the next generation doesn't have to repeat the old mistakes, doesn't have to inherit the prejudices and animosities of their parents. Their story is living proof that peace isn't just about ending a war. It's about actively building bridges, fostering understanding, and choosing a different path forward. It's about recognizing that even the darkest legacies can be redeemed through conscious choice and the courage to be different. Of course, let's be real. Prejudice doesn't just vanish overnight like a misplaced snitch. The wizarding world, for all its progress, still has its lingering shadows, its uncomfortable truths that refuse to be completely swept away. You can bet there are still grandparents, tucked away in quiet corners of wizarding society, who whisper about better times when the Dark Lord ruled, longing for a world where pure-blood supremacy was the norm. There are still shops in Nocturne Alley, operating in the shadows, selling cursed artifacts under the counter, catering to those who haven't quite let go of the dark arts. These aren't overt threats, not like Voldemort's reign, but subtle undercurrents, vestiges of a darker past that remind everyone how fragile peace can be. But here's the crucial difference, and it's a big one. The Ministry memos now use the term Muggleborn, not the vile slur that rhymes with mud. That's not just a change in vocabulary. It's a fundamental shift in official policy and, slowly but surely, in societal attitudes. It signals a new era, one championed by leaders like Minister Kingsley Shacklebolt and, eventually, Hermione Granger, who worked tirelessly to reform discriminatory laws and promote equality. Kids like Rose Granger Weasley and Scorpius Malfoy aren't just attending the same school. They're learning the same spells, sharing the same dormitories, competing for the same house points, and, perhaps most importantly, sitting in the same detention lines when they inevitably break the rules. This shared experience, this forced proximity and common ground, is slowly but surely eroding the old divisions. The castle that once felt like a battlefield, a place divided by blood and ideology, is slowly but surely turning back into what it was always meant to be, a school. A place of learning, growth, and friendship, where the past is remembered but doesn't dictate the future. It's a long, slow process, but it's happening one generation at a time. This isn't a perfect utopia, but it's a world striving for one, learning from its mistakes and building a better future brick by magical brick. Wrap-up question: so, when all is said and done, did justice truly win in the wizarding world? It's a complicated question, isn't it? Some villains, the truly irredeemable ones, got the axe, facing definitive and often poetic ends. Others, like Lucius Malfoy, somehow managed to secure a second chance, or at least a lenient sentence, leaving a lingering sense of unease and unanswered questions about accountability. And then there are the kids, the hero kids, the villain kids, all of them forced to sort out the emotional rubble left behind by a war they didn't fight, but whose shadow still touched their lives. The wizarding world patched itself together, not with a single magical wave of a wand, but with a complex mix of compromise, genuine efforts at therapy for those traumatized by the war, and a few well-placed memory charms, though hopefully not on the scale of forgetting the war itself, but rather helping individuals move past specific traumas. It's a testament to resilience, to the slow, often painful process of healing and rebuilding. But here's the big one, the question I want to leave you with, the one that forces us to confront our own sense of justice. If you had lived through that war, if you had seen the devastation, the loss, the sheer cruelty, would you have found it in your heart to forgive Lucius Malfoy for his countless transgressions? Or would you have pushed for a much harsher, more definitive sentence, demanding that he face the full consequences of his actions? What's your verdict? Drop your thoughts, your frustrations, your hopes, and your arguments in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into the parts of Potter lore the books only hint at, the complex moral gray areas, and the stories behind the stories, hit that subscribe button, because, as we all know, the story of the wizarding world, in all its messy glory, never truly ends.